Hi everyone, how are you today? How's everything? I hope you're doing well. Today we are going to continue with unit number 3 about news and views. Unit number 3 is something, that is far a little bit from 1 and 2, which were about places and different places we see and we visit and we dream to visit and how to describe them. In this unit, we are going to talk about, giving and responding to news. So it's about news, giving the news and responding, showing interest and surprise, and also we're going to talk about books and films, my favorite, okay? About the most interesting books that you've ever read, the ones that, were made as movies, and the difference between the book as, hardware, okay? Let me talk about books as paper books and also PDFs. We're going to talk about the difference or which one you prefer more, the books or the movie. If I'm talking about, a movie that is based on a novel or a book or a real story that was written before. Also, how to tell a story about yourself, about to describe an event that happened to you. So we're gonna learn how to do narration from narrative tenses also are gonna be used, how to describe a past event, a story that you passed through, what tense to use, okay, what's okay and what's not okay. This is like what to be learned in this unit. Also, we're going to listen to someone or to someone's story who survived for 60 days under snow or without food. He had nothing to eat but handfuls of snow, nothing to drink. He kept warm using his car's engine. So we're gonna listen and we're gonna talk about all the details, that concerned or related to this man and why he, what happened to him. We're going to learn how to use question words to ask about a story. If I say to you like this story about the man, that the piece of news is, or the title is, Man Survived 6 Days Stuck in Snow. So, what questions that come to your mind about this story before you read the article about the man? Again, a man survives 60 days stuck in snow. So, what questions can you use? What question words can you use to ask about the details of the story? First, who's the man? Okay, so this is the first sentence to ask. Okay, second sentence, where? Where did it happen? Okay, so who was the man? Since I'm talking about something now, see, I'm asking in the past. Okay, who was the man? How did it happen? Where did it happen? When did it happen? The main questions. Okay, 4 main questions about the story. Also, how did it end? Also, why did it happen? Okay, so here we are going to learn to use question words and WH questions to ask about stories details. Okay, so let's start with this with the title, guys. Okay, are you ready? Yeah, okay. Now I wanted to check the PDF, to look at the PDF. If you notice, as you can see, we can start with the title, News and Views, narrative tenses or tense, giving news and responding, and also talking about books and films, showing interest and surprise, as I mentioned. Okay. You can check the first question here, or it's not a question. What we are going to do here: match the tense names with the verbs in the sentences. So we have 2 boxes here. We have 2 people driving a car. The car seems like the man seems as he's driving very fast. So let's match. We have the tenses are past simple, past continuous, past perfect simple, past simple passive, and past perfect continuous. Alan and George were driving home. This is, of course, past continuous because we have were driving. They'd been on holiday. They'd been on holidays. They had been on holiday. This is past perfect. They'd been driving for hours. Past perfect continuous. They crashed the car. Simple past. Fortunately, they weren't injured. And this is past simple passive. Okay. Here, as you can figure out from the hints and the clues we have here, it's like a story about George and Ellen who had been on holiday, and you know, they were driving, and they had been driving for hours when they crashed a car, or they had an accident. Fortunately, they weren't injured after that. Okay. Now, let's go to the first section, which is narrative tenses. Can you believe it? So here we are going to hear a very, let me say, could be shocking news, could be a story, could be like unbelievable, could be strange, weird, questionable, okay, so mystery, wherever, I don't know yet. So let's go for it. And here we are going to go like this, okay? So can you believe it? Narrative tenses. Let's start with number one. Look at the picture and read news headline. So this is the headline. Man survives 60 days stuck in snow. And what is the story about? It's clear, isn't it? Okay. Number two, what else would you like to know? Like, of course, the details of the story and how, where, when, why, what happened later, okay? Things like that. Write some questions using these question words. The question words we have are who, when, where, what, how, and why. And let me help you with this. We can like use, by the way, or make different questions about the same story. Let me make the questions before I go into the details and the reading of the story. Like, you know, we can say, who was the man, as I already mentioned before. Who was he with? Okay, did he have anyone with him or no? Who found the car? This is like if I want to think only of who. So next one is, when did the man leave his house? When did it start snowing? Since like stuck in snow. When was the man found? Also, like, this is a question that we need to know about the man, or the answer is necessary to be known. Also, where was the man from? Okay, we don't know where the story, you know, took part or started. Also took place, sorry. Where was he driving to? Where was he found? Also, we can say, what was the man wearing? One of the details that you might need to know. What did he do when it started to snow? And what did he eat or drink? So since we have, like, you know, he survived for 60 days stuck in his car, okay, or stuck in snow. Also, from the from the headline, it's not clear that, you know, he was stuck in his car, but from the picture, yes. Okay, also we have like, how did the man survive for 60 days? This is one of the questions that we need to know. Also, we have like, how did people know he was there? And how did he feel when he was found? And how did he feel when he was stuck? Why didn't the man call for help? Why didn't his family search for him? Why it took, or why did it take 60 days to find him? You know, we have many whys, okay? And why was the road blocked for so long? I mean, like, why, as I mentioned, why 60 days, okay? So this is, these ideas are, or these details are very necessary to know the complete story of the man, about the man, okay? So, yeah. Then in number 3 now, they said, read the newspaper article. Can you find answers to all your questions? Why do you think some experts are skeptical? Skeptical, like, I don't think, like, there's something else about this story. Might be some hidden details. hidden causes, reasons. Okay, so they're thinking like 60 days. How could he survive 60 days? You know, no one looked for him. No one, you know, none of his family showed up like searching for him. Where was he to stay 60 days in a car? You know, under snow. So let's read all the details about this man. So back to the word skeptical means like, you know, they doubted the story. They had some, you know, some questions about the story. They think like it's not true or something is hidden. Okay, so ready? Let's read about it. A 44-year-old Swedish man survived for 60 days by eating handfuls of snow when his car had become trapped in snowdrifts. Yesterday, he was recovering in hospital after being pulled out barely alive. Experts think he went into a form of hibernation after temperature plunged to as low as minus 30 Celsius. The emaciated man, whose name was reported as Peter Skulberg, had been driving on a remote forest road near the town of Umeå in southern Sweden and had become stuck during a snowstorm. He was finally found last Friday by passing a worker on a snowmobile. The rescuer said, "I was clearing the road when I noticed the car. I stopped to scrape some snow from the windscreen and saw movement inside. The man was in very poor state. He could barely speak, he could hardly speak, but I understood that he had eaten nothing for 2 months or for over 2 months. Skulberg was wrapped in a sleeping bag but had no other warmth. His fuel had run out weeks earlier because he had kept the engine running to keep warm. He's now in intensive care, being treated for hypothermia. Police think that perhaps he was a nature lover who had been trying to photograph elk. Tommy Söderholm, a professor of nutrition at Uppsala University, said that humans can survive 60 days without food, but other experts are highly skeptical about the story. Okay, I already mentioned this point before. Now, let's go to notice and to check the tenses that have been used here. We have, like, in the beginning, we say, we can see that they use the simple past. You know, like yesterday, he was recovering, and past continuous, and then barely alive. They think that he went before that. Okay, so we are talking about, you know, events one after another. So here we can use simple past, and then when we talk about, you know, he was recovering, he's not recovered yet. Okay, or the action is not done yet, so we can notice past continuous. So talking about stories can require 3 tenses: simple past, past perfect, and past continuous. Past continuous when I have a continuous action or action that was in progress, and we had another action that interrupted the first one. So the first to happen is past continuous, the second is simple past, and I know you know this. The third one, like when we know when we have 2 actions, but one had, you know, before in a specific time before, so we can go for past perfect for the first one to happen, and for the second, and past simple for the second that followed. Okay, this is the ideas I wanted to say, and also I think that all the answers to your questions, the questions that I mentioned before, are done yet. Okay, I don't think, like here you can check the car. Okay, this is the photo of the car that Skulberg was found in. It's hard to survive, you know, it's so cold, and, you know, like he was freezing. Okay, I know that you have some new words here, but let's not go to answer them now or to explain them now, because I think we have a question about them. If not, I'm gonna go back to explain them. Okay. No, I don't think we have a question about them. So guys, hibernation, like, you know, when you sleep, you know, it's let me say winter action. Okay, it's like to sleep the whole winter inactively in order, like most animals do, like bears, so they sleep in winter, wake up in spring, and start to be active in spring again. Okay. Also I have like words to explain. I think like maybe snow drifts. Okay, snow drifts is like piles of snow made by the wind. Okay. And it's like snowstorm. Snowmobile is like a vehicle that is used to walk on snow. What else? Scrape, like just to remove the snow from the windscreen. Also we have hypothermia is the situation or the statement when body temperature goes below the normal one. Okay, and very much, so it's like being freezed and in a situation that you need to recover. Okay, it's kind of disease. It's not a disease, it's like a situation happens because of being cold for a long time. Also we have, do we have other words that you might find difficult? Skeptical, I already mentioned the meaning of this. I don't, intensive care, intensive care, like, where severe patient or ill patient treated in, treated and given care. Okay, I think that's everything. Okay, yeah, the emaciated man, like become very skinny or very thin because he had eaten nothing. He became very thin because he had eaten nothing for 2 months. Okay, emaciated man, the man who became ill. Okay, and thin. Yeah, that's everything. Now let's go to exercise 5. Let me check. For listen to compare your questions to your answers. Yes, exercise 5 here we have like listen to 2 people discussing the article. Okay, complete the lines from their conversation. Wanna check them? I don't think that you need to check them, but there is a word here you might need the meaning of, which is avalanche. Okay, so listen to it and let's start. Okay, this is track 3. Okay, 3.2. Okay, yeah.
Tape script 3.2.
Yes.
This is amazing.
What is?
Well, it says here that a 44-year-old man in Sweden was buried in snow for 60 days and he survived.
60 days? I don't believe it. Was he buried by an avalanche or something while he was skiing?
No, he hadn't been skiing.
Was he buried by an avalanche while he was skiing? So what do we have here? Was he? Yeah. Was he buried? Buried, like to be under earth, or like after a person dies or something like this, buried. Okay, and we have while he was skiing. So was he buried while he was skiing? If I'm making it as a sentence. She said, no, he wasn't skiing. Let's continue.
He was driving his car and it was snowing hard and
He was driving his car and
got stuck in snowdrift.
And he was stuck. As you noticed, like we have passive here.
But 60 days is over 2 months.
60 days, okay.
How come nobody found him?
Well, apparently he was on a remote road and his car was completely covered in snow.
Like an igloo?
Yeah.
Okay, apparently he was, in his sleeping.
So was he sitting in his car all that time?
No, not sitting, lying. Fortunately, he'd brought a sleeping bag and when they found him, he was lying in that.
He was lying in a sleeping bag when he and slept in that, or lied in that.
Very fortunate. Why didn't anyone report him missing?
I don't know, it doesn't say.
Why didn't anyone report him missing?
Hey.
I'm not sure this story's true. Did he have stuff to eat?
No, he said he'd eaten nothing but snow.
He said he had eaten nothing but snow. He had eaten. Okay, he hadn't eaten.
He was really thin when they found him, emaciated, it says here, and he had hypothermia.
I'm not surprised. I just don't believe it's possible to live without food for 60 days, and it's strange that nobody missed him. I think there's more to this story than meets the eye.
Okay, guys, I think it's clear about that, two people questioning the story and what happened. As I mentioned, the first word is avalanche. Avalanche is like, when we have like a lot of snow, okay, moving, and, as a kind of, moving towards him, or like maybe he was skiing and then he got stuck in an avalanche, like the movement of snow, a big mass of snow, okay, and he could get stuck there, but no, it was while he was driving. He slept or he was sleeping in a bag when he was found, and he slept in that bag. Okay, so let's talk now about exercise 6. I think things are clear here. Like, do you think it's possible to live so long with only snow to eat? Discuss with a partner. I already, like, you can give your opinion to express this. Personally, I actually, it depends on the situation of the body itself. If the body is, immune enough to survive and eating snow, but could be possible, it could be not, I don't know. But again, I think it depends on the physical, situation of the body. We're talking about immunity here. We're talking about how healthy. We're talking about, could be, I believe that smoking, non-smoking people who can survive more. Like, I think smoking people can survive more in such situations. I don't know. Like, it's like, but this is how I feel. It depends on the physical situation of the body and its ability to survive, and also somehow. Hope can help here. We all hear about stories and miracles that happened to people who were in danger, or people who survived earthquakes, storms, and different natural disasters. We've heard of a lot of stories that were unbelievable, okay, but they happened in a way or another. They happened. We cannot question that, because the person who went through this is alive, speaking about this situation. Talking about disasters and people who survived, we heard and we watched a lot of movies, talking about such situations. These movies are, based on real stories, okay, and they mentioned a lot of details that, the person who went through this, talked about. So yeah, why not? Miracles happen, every now and then. Okay, so let's go to exercise 7. Exercise 7 here, guys, is about, matching line, okay, A from B. Okay, so sorry, and we have a track to listen to practice saying these lines. The first line: he disappeared. He'd been living in the forest. The car looked blah blah blah, and he'd fallen out. He hadn't been trying. He wasn't discovered. Then we say, like, with his family, like an igloo. Igloo. The igloo is like, it's a kind of houses that people live in. They are made of snow like this, okay? And, they are not very high, so you can stay in, just crawl in. But people used to, especially in places that are where there is there is a lot of snow or snowy areas. Okay, so igloo until February, since May, 10 months ago, and to find them. Okay, let's listen to the track and check the matching here.
Tape script 3.3. 1. He disappeared 10 months ago.
2.
He'd been living in the forest since May. 3.
The car looked like an igloo.
4.
He'd fallen out with his family.
5.
They hadn't been trying to find him.
6.
He wasn't discovered until February.
Okay, guys. I don't think you have more questions about this. Let's go to language focus. What are the different tenses used in these two paragraphs? Why are they used? And which paragraph sounds more like the beginning of a story? Here we have the two paragraphs, okay? Let's read them and then I'll tell you the answers. Peter drove into the forest. It started snowing. His car became stuck in a drift. He sat and watched the falling snow. We'll repeat the questions, okay? What are the different tenses used in these two paragraphs? Why are they used? Which paragraph sounds more like the beginning of a story? Then, paragraph 2. Peter was sitting in his car watching the falling snow. It had started to snow soon after he'd driven into the forest, and now his car had become stuck in a drift. Okay, the different tenses we use, okay, or we used here. In paragraph 1, the past simple is used to describe a series of events, okay, that one happened after, the other. One after the other, okay? While in paragraph 2, past simple isn't used. Past continuous is used to describe an activity in progress at time in the past, okay? Like Peter was sitting, he was watching the falling of the snow, the falling snow. Then it had started to snow soon after he'd driven into the forest. So driving into the forest and starting to snow happened before, he was sitting in the car watching the snow, the falling snow, and then and now he's in his car. Now his car had become stuck in drift. Okay, so here we have past continuous, and also we have past perfect. In paragraph 2, it's like more a beginning of a story because the events are not done yet. Okay, it sounded like a beginning of a story more than the first paragraph. Okay, and then because we have a combination of tenses and narrative tenses, so we have a combination of narrative tenses, narrative that we use to narrate or to speak or to describe what happened with us, a situation, a story, an event, or an experience. Okay. If you want more details, you can go to their friends, which is on page 142, and I hope you can find more details if you are interested. Okay. Now we have another practice discussing grammar, to talk about grammar. Okay, guys, and here compare the use of tenses. The use, okay, because it's a noun. Use as a verb, use as a noun. Compare the use of the tenses in these sentences. I read a book on the plane. I was reading, it should be past. Yes, I read a book on the plane. I was reading a book on the plane. Okay, and then we had when the first guest arrived, I opened the champagne. I was opening the champagne and I had opened the champagne. So why did we make it? We still have, okay. The film started when we got to the cinema. The film had started when we got to the cinema, okay. He was sacked because he had stolen some money, and he had been stealing money for years. When I got to the garage, my car was being repaired, had been repaired. Okay, so now let's talk about this, okay, one by one. In number one, they said, I read a book on the plane. This is a simple past sentence. I was reading a book on the plane. I think like I'm talking about past continuous. I'm talking about, you know, a situation that was in progress before another thing happened. In the first one, it was a completed action in the past. While in number two, when the first guest arrived, I opened the champagne. Okay, so like at the moment the guest arrived, I opened the champagne. You know, they followed each other. Okay, when the first guest arrived, I was opening the champagne. So the first action interrupted the opening of the champagne, and I had opened the champagne. So when the first guest arrived, so first I opened the champagne and then the guest arrived. This is like, you know, to say that first I did this and then, you know, the guest or the first guest arrived. Okay, guys. Now I'm speaking fast about the grammar because, you know, I feel like I've repeated that many times, so no need to waste a lot of time, more than 2-3 minutes on this. Exercise 3, the film started when we got to the cinema, so, you know, there's like no very, you know, long time between the two events happening. Okay, the film had started when we got to the cinema, so first the movie started and then we got to the cinema, so we were a little bit late. Okay, it started before we arrived. In number 4, he was sacked because he had stolen some money. Okay, and yeah, he had been stealing money for years. It's, you know, it's clear that it's a continuous situation because we have the phrase for years, and had been stealing money before he was sacked. Okay. Yeah, number 5, when I got to the garage, my car was being repaired, so the action wasn't finished yet. Okay, he cannot take it because it's not done yet. And when I got to the garage had been repaired, that means it was done. He can take it. Okay, let's go to writing narratives. This is like for number 2 or section number 2. Writing narratives, it's about you. You should practice doing this. Like making headlines, okay, making a few ideas to write your own story and how to describe your own story, but by practicing something different, so then you can apply it to yourself and to your experiences. Here, write the sentences as one sentence, beginning with the line in bold, you know, like this color, okay, a darker color. Okay, guys, so here we have he wasn't always poor. He had a successful business. Unfortunately, it went past. Mike was a homeless beggar. You know beggar, right? A person who asks people for money in streets and, you know, bus, train stations. So, yeah. Mike was a homeless beggar, but he hadn't always been poor, as he had a successful business, which unfortunately had gone past. Okay, guys, this is like, you know, example. Then we have different sentences here, like from 1 to 5. I'm gonna give it to you as like for you to think of, and next class I'm gonna start with the answers here. But it's very important to try to write, you know, a beginning of a story, or, you know, a story out of some ideas. I used to do this as a game with some students, especially when we have groups. We used to do this as a game to give some students, could be sentences, could be words, vocabs, like just to write on the board one vocab, and hey, who can make a story of this? Or some words that are, you know, not related to each other, and who can create a story out of this. So in a group, it's a very nice game to play, and, you know, it's so helpful, and it can help you so much in building your sentences and you know, structure. So it's nice to do this at home, even if you're alone. Just think of one word and then think of a word that is completely different, you know, or you can choose randomly a few words, write them down, and then you can try to make a story. Why not let your imagination, let me say, fly, okay, or, you know, just work. Okay, number 1, he got up at dawn. He was driving 14 hours. Peter was tired when he arrived home. Okay, I think it's so easy to make a story out of this. I parked my car on a yellow line. It was towed away I went to get my car, but it wasn't there. They gave you already between two brackets like the word when to be used. Just let me move this. Yeah, she won £2,000 in a competition last night. Sally was celebrating. Then number 4, they were shopping all day. They spent all their money on clothes. Jane and Peter arrived home. They were broke. Again, we use when, okay? And again, it's easy to make a story out of this. He saw a house in Scotland. He first saw it while he was driving on holiday. Last week, John moved to this house. Okay, so guys, it's so easy to make a story out of this. Okay, these clues or sentences, but they are nice to, to make it as a game, to play it as a game. Good. Now let's move to different, kind of exercise, which is all about listening. Here is the news. Listening here is so important, guys, because wow, okay, it's a lot of work to be done. So let's start. Are you ready? In number 1 we have, or in number 3 we have, listen to the first item on a radio news pollen. What do the pictures show? What can you see in the pictures, guys? What can you see? Yeah, I can see like a couple maybe, but we have, they seem like famous or celebrities, I don't know. Okay, but they seem like this. Then we have like in the background of the picture, we have in the back of the picture, we have like 4 policemen. These policemen are, they have metal tools around a very big house. Seem like they are looking for something, so we don't know. Let's check. Let's listen to the news and check the story. But after listening to the news, here we have to work to correct the sentences and statements about the item. Okay, so we have 6 exercises about the listening. John Godwell is a millionaire property tycoon. Okay, there's something wrong here in this sentence. We need to find the answer. In number 2, he was badly injured when a masked man broke into his newly built house. So guys, here, these clues can help you. It's important to read them before we go to the listening, because they can help you get and figure out about the listening and what we are going to listen to, and so you can focus more on details. Then we have number 3. He had just had supper with his wife in the kitchen when the robbers struck. Number 4, the robbers escaped in a van with £500,000 in cash. Then we have the couple were immediately rushed to hospital. 3 men in their 20s have been arrested in connection with the robbery. So let's listen to the news and check if these statements are correct or no. After we finish, I'm gonna give you the answers, okay? What's wrong in these statements.
Tape script 3.4. Here is the news.
Good evening. Here is the news at 6 o'clock on Wednesday the 31st of October, read by Hugh Kernoyd. One of Britain's richest men, the billionaire mobile phone tycoon John Caldwell, was left bruised and blooded after being attacked during a robbery at his 16th century mansion near Eccleshall in Staffordshire. Mr. Caldwell, 57, was beaten with a crowbar, then bound and gagged by a gang of masked men. The men then turned on his glamorous fiancée, former model Claire Johnson, 41. Mr. Caldwell and Miss Johnson had been chatting together in the kitchen when the gang struck at 8:15 p.m. on Monday. The men, wearing balaclavas and dark clothes, stole money and jewels before escaping on foot across fields behind the house. The couple, who have a 6-year-old son, were treated by paramedics at the scene before being taken to a private hospital. Mr. Caldwell had suffered a gash to his forehead and bruising to his arms. Yesterday, about a dozen police officers were using metal detectors to search for clues in the grounds surrounding the property. Today, a 48-year-old man was arrested in connection with the robbery.
Okay, guys, so as you noticed here, he's not a millionaire, he's a billionaire, mobile phone tycoon. In number 2, he was badly injured when masked man broke into his newly built house. It wasn't a newly built house, it was 16th century mansion. Then we have number 3, he had just had supper with his wife. No, she wasn't his wife, she was his, fiancée. He was, and they didn't say anything about supper, that he was chatting with his fiancée in the kitchen. Also, they in number 4, the robbers escaped in a van. No, they escaped on foot with money and jewels across fields. Also, here we talk about, the couple were immediately rushed to hospital. No, the couple were treated by paramedics at the scene. It means like in the house. And 3 men were men in their 20s have been arrested. No, it was only 1 man. The man was in his 48, and he has been arrested, in connection to the robbery. Yeah, that was everything. Think about this news bulletin. I hope you can, or I wish that you listen to it again at home, and check the words and check how they narrated and how they talked about the story. Yeah, in exercise 3. Then 5, okay, but the track is 3.5. Listen to the last item from the bulletin about Nick, an American, stuntman. Complete the questions and answer them. Okay, so here we have clues to make a question. Okay, after we need to listen first, and then we can make the questions and the answers to them. This one is let me say is more difficult than the previous one, so I want you to focus because it's longer and it's detailed more. So I prefer you get paper, pen, and write some notes while listening. It's so helpful and useful for you. Okay, so let's listen to it, guys.
Tape script 3.5. And finally, an amazing achievement.
American stuntman and trapeze artist Nick Wallander is the first person ever to cross a gorge near the Grand Canyon on a tightrope. Nick, 34, wearing shoes specially made by his mother, but without a safety harness, took just 22 minutes to walk from one side of the gorge to the other. With strong winds and dust blowing into his eyes, twice he seemed to lose his balance, and he sat down, but he got up again and kept going to the end. He was greeted by cheers as he stepped safely back onto land. The walk was watched by a global television audience of several million. Daredevil Nick already holds 7 world records, including the longest walk over a waterfall, which he achieved last year when he crossed Niagara Falls.
Nice achievement. Okay, guys, so they're talking about a very amazing achievement here done by this man, the man that you can see in the picture. Okay, we have a, he's doing kind of sport, okay, dangerous one, risky one. So let's make the questions. The first question, what did he do that was so amazing? Okay, so could you figure out, could you know what happened here? I think the picture can give you a clue about this, but he crossed a gorge near the Grand Canyon and a tightrope, okay? Tightrope, okay? So there, he did this. And the second here we have, has anyone this before? Has anyone done this before? Okay, of course, no, never. He was the first to do this. And in number 3 we have what wearing. What was he wearing? What was he wearing? He was wearing special shoes that had done or had been made by his mother. Number 4, what not wearing, what wasn't he wearing? Okay, he wasn't wearing a safety harness. Also, number 5, how long did it take to, the whole experience? It took like about 22 minutes to be done or to be finished. What was the weather like? As you noticed, like they said like he sat for, because of the dust and the wind. Okay, dust blowing in his eyes, so he was about to fail, and it was risky. So the weather wasn't that good. Okay, there were strong winds which created a lot of dust, blowing in his eyes. Okay, now let's go to 7. How many people watched him? Millions. Okay, why millions? Okay, there was a global television audience of several million. Okay, so he was watched by millions of people, and also cheered by millions of people. And what did he do the year before? Because we have, what did he do the year before? Actually, he walked across the Niagara Falls. Okay, Niagara Falls are the most famous falls, waterfalls you can ever see and watch and enjoy. So I hope you can all get a chance to visit it. It's an amazing place. It's brilliant place. It's like piece of heaven on earth. Okay, so let's I think you need a second listening, okay, for sure. And don't feel like embarrassed to do this, because listening can be developed and improved, little by little. Just more practice is good. Spoken language, giving and receiving news. How to respond, how to react. Okay, like, wow, really? Things sounds like not good, So these words are, I know, like for a lower level, by the way, it's not like for you, but how to question and doubt. News, how to show surprise, interest also, and also indifferent, okay, like you don't care about the news. Okay, so in conversation, when we tell or hear news, we can use certain expressions, match the expressions with the headings. Okay, so we have 3 categories here. We have giving news, reacting to news, and asking for more information. Giving news, did you hear about? Reacting to news, that's amazing. By the way, the intonation is so important here, okay? To show your interest, that you are interested or indifferent, okay? Asking for more information, how did it happen? Like, to ask for more details. So the second category here, or the column on the, which hand is this? Yeah, on the right, okay? So we have, you're kidding. It says here that the incredible thing was that. What happened next was, apparently what happened was, where did this happen? Really? Who called the police? I don't believe it. That's such a shame. Anyway, in the end, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so giving news, which ones? It's clear, right? The incredible thing was that. It says here that. Apparently what happened was. Anyway, in the end, so you're giving information here. You're talking about the story. You're giving the story. Then we're talking about reacting to news. You're kidding. Really? That's such a shame. I don't believe it. Okay? The sentences that about more information are clear because they are questions. Most of them are questions. Okay, what happened next was, what happened next one is not question. So this belongs to, giving news, okay? And the incredible thing was that, okay, where did this happen? Who called the police? and yeah, okay, like 2 sentences, okay, or 2 questions actually to ask about. How did it happen, where did it happen, and who called the police? These are, you know, questions. Yeah. In exercise 6, they ask you to write sentences to make a you know, a kind of role play conversation. One to say or to read or to tell news, and the other one to react, maybe to ask for more details. Okay, please try this. If you have a partner at home, or if you have someone to help you do this, you know, to do this, please do, because it's so important, you know. But again, I think like to upper intermediate students, this is like easy. Just try to memorize the sentences, and that's it. I don't want to make it longer. Okay, next class we are going to move to vocabulary and speaking. I hope the listening wasn't that difficult for you, on you today. I'm gonna see you next class on Monday. Enjoy your staying at home. Again, I don't want to say make it positive. I don't want to say any of these words and sentences again, because, you know, I know how bored you are. Just enjoy it. Have fun. And it's ending. It's ending. Thank you very much. See you on Monday. Goodbye.